In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how elite operators are generating 6 and 7 figures from their personal brand with a fraction of the followers that everybody else has. This isn't a video about posting schedules or content templates. This is about understanding the fundamental economics that separate million-dollar personal brands from expensive hobbies. So after working with over 300 different business owners and analyzing millions in revenue generated through personal brands, I've identified the exact economic principles that determine whether your personal brand becomes a client acquisition machine or a time sink. And trust me, most operators, even the successful ones building their personal brands, are still getting these completely wrong. See, while everyone's obsessing over vanity metrics and viral posts, the market has fundamentally shifted. Let me break down what's exactly working with the real data behind it. After analyzing our client portfolio of 7 and 8 figure businesses, we're seeing a way higher conversion rate on leads from trust-based content versus anything that goes viral. The conventional wisdom of more followers equals more money is dead. The reality is that we've entered what I call the economic trust paradigm. Let me explain what this means. See, the traditional model is more reach, more engagement, more revenue. That worked 2 years ago. The current reality is targeted trust, which leads to qualified leads, which leads to higher ticket conversions. And the data shows something fascinating. Businesses focusing purely on reach are seeing 0.1 to 0.3% conversion rates on high ticket offers, but operators who understand the economic principles, they're converting at 5 to 15% on deals worth $20,000 to $30,000 plus. And this isn't just a theory. Let me give you an example. One of our clients at Mogul Media, a performance creative agency, was following all the best practices, posting 3 to 4 times a day. He was creating carousel posts. He was creating content in his niche, but it was really appealing to the masses. He had 10,000 followers, but was barely closing any deals. His personal brand was essentially an expensive hobby. The problem wasn't his concept, it's his economic model. He was optimizing for the wrong metrics entirely. See, the 3 economic pillar metrics that actually matter are attention to trust ratio, time to revenue optimization, and number 3 is platform economics. Let's go over each of them. The first one, this is where most operators go wrong. You see, attention is cheap. Trust is what's bloody expensive. The real economic leverage comes from understanding your trust conversion rate, which is called your TCR. This is the metric you should be writing down. And let me break it down mathematically. TCR equals engaged qualified prospects divided by the total attention. So in our studies across 300 different businesses, we found something fascinating. Accounts with 5,000 followers consistently outperform accounts with 50,000 general followers in actual revenue. Why? Because their TCR is 10 times higher. The second pillar, aka time to revenue optimization, is where things get very interesting from an economic standpoint. Most operators don't realize they're operating completely inefficiently. Let me show you what I mean. Check out this graph. The average operator spends 80% of their time creating content that generates 20% of revenue, but elite operators flip this entirely. Elite operators focus on revenue critical content. And to break this down, that means growth content is 20% of their effort, trust building content is 50% of their effort, and conversion content is 30% of the effort. And I'm going to break these down with examples later in this video. And this isn't just a theory. This is what we've tested across hundreds of accounts. For example, when we shifted one of our 8-figure founders' content strategies to this model, their deal flow increased while their content creation time got cut in half. Pillar number 3 is platform economics. This is where we get really strategic. Each platform has its own economic ecosystem. Most operators spread themselves too thin by trying to be everywhere, but here's what the data shows. Twitter, aka X, will account for 20% of your deal flow, but 80% of your connections. LinkedIn will attribute to another 20% of your deal flow. Your YouTube channel will attribute 30% of your deal flow, and your email list is 30% of your deal flow too. All of these are intertwined together, and I'll show you how later in this video. But before I do, let me show you exactly how these elite operators are implementing these 3 economic principles. And listen, I'm not going to tell you to go post more and all of that. I'm going to show you the exact frameworks that are generating millions in revenue for 7 and 8 figure businesses. So the first thing we need to understand is something called allocation economics. Most operators get this wrong as well. They create content like they're throwing spaghetti at a wall, but there's actually a scientific approach to creating content for different stages of the funnel. Let me break these down with the exact ratios. 40% of your content is top of funnel. This is the content that gets you targeted targeted followers viewing your profile, connecting with you, and following you. There's a few different types of content pieces here. There's opinions and hot takes. There's commenting on relevant events in your industry that are in your industry's news. There's high value authoritative breakdown posts. There's business takes. Everything that you're seeing on the screen popping up right now, screenshot it. These are what are currently working. 40% of this is going to be trust building content. This gets us to the 80%. This is where the real economic leverage happens. These are deep, insightful content pieces that show your IP, shows your experience, shows your expertise, shows your story, gets people to trust you on a personal level. This is what makes your audience so potent. These are case studies, these are frameworks. It's so critical to understand that this is not going viral. The trust building content 99% of the time will get very low engagement, but it's going to be nurturing the people who follow you that you get from the top of funnel content. It's going to get people to nod their heads when they see the content that you're producing to trust you even more. And then the final 20% is conversion content. And the crazy thing is most operators are doing this backwards. They're promoting too much. The data shows that 20% is the optimal conversion content ratio. Anything more than this actually decreases trust and it hurts your overall personal brand. Now, there's a few optimization principles that you need to keep in mind. And let me walk you through the exact implementation process for the optimization. See, there are 3 distinct phases of optimization for your personal brand. Phase 1 is the foundation economics. This is where we establish your base. And trust me, even 7-figure operators are still getting this wrong. I don't understand it. There's something called the content to lead ratio, the CLR. It must be a 3-to-1 before any promotion, which means 3 high value posts before you even imagine and thinking about promoting anything on your account. You have to give way more than you get back. Then there's something called your trust velocity score. This is a fascinating one because our research shows there's a direct correlation between trust and the deal size. Let me show you. Low trust velocity is going to be getting you an average deal size of 3 to 5K in LTV. Medium trust velocity is an average deal size of 15 to 25K. High trust velocity is average deals with 50K plus. I have a client right now who's killing it on LinkedIn with a few thousand followers, 2,000 followers, another one 5,000 followers, yet they've been able to close 9-figure brands, 9 figures and spend brands through LinkedIn with a few thousand followers. These are people locked into yearly contracts because they're focused on trust-based content with a few thousand followers. Now, if you want to learn more about optimizing your trust velocity score and learning more details behind the science and the math of a profitable personal brand, then check out my weekly newsletter. It's a link in the description. It's completely free and I share frameworks like this every single week. The link is in the description if you want to dive deeper. Now let's move into the second distinct phase of optimization. It's called scale economics with leverage distribution. So once you have your foundation set, you'll be able to reuse your content winners, and it's called content leverage. Most operators are creating new content when they should just be leveraging what's already working. And let me show you. When one piece of content hits, meaning it gets high engagement, it generated leads, you need to milk it dry. Take that winning topic and expand it into a detailed thread, break it down into a video, turn it into a LinkedIn post, send it out to your email list. An example of this is one of our clients took a single tweet about the Google Ads niche that got good engagement, and instead of moving on to the next topic, we turned it into dozens of other content pieces, posted on LinkedIn, and he closed a 9-figure brand from LinkedIn based on that expanded content piece. Then there's something called platform synergy, which is when you align your platforms collectively. You create an ecosystem of content that relates back to your core message and your pillars. The content is presented to people based on where they're most comfortable. And let me break down platform synergy. This is probably one of the most important economic levers that you're not using. So most operators try being everywhere at once, but it's not about being everywhere. It's about creating a strategic content ecosystem. Let me show you what I mean. Twitter acts as your nucleus. Twitter, aka X, is going to act as your nucleus. This is where you test ideas and build initial trust. LinkedIn is then going to amplify your authority, and your email list, that's your engine. So here's what the flow looks like. Twitter, aka the lab, you're going to test ideas quickly, get immediate feedback, build relationships, and more importantly, this is where you validate what topics resonate with your market. Then comes in LinkedIn, which is the amplifier. You're going to take your winning Twitter content, expand on it with more contact, add case studies and data, and then this is where you showcase the depth of your expertise. This is how you build on both platforms while being efficient. Then finally is the email list, aka the engine. This is where the real money comes in. Take your best performing content on both platforms, expand into detailed breakdowns. Our data is showing email is converting better than any other platform, but these other platforms are there to get people into your email list and get people to trust you. This is where you're posting unique value. But look, I know this might seem like a lot. That's why I want to give you something practical right now. Now, here's the reality. The market's only getting more sophisticated. If you're on Twitter, if you're on LinkedIn right now, you know how competitive it is. For a majority of people, reach is down terribly. Everyone and their mother in every single industry is trying to build their personal brand. The operators who understand these economic principles will thrive in comparison to the rest. The ones who don't will keep on battling the algorithms, battling their competition, and just getting swiped underneath the rug. Now, if you want help implementing this in your business, my team and I have helped over 300 operators build their personal brands into client acquisition machines. These are agency owners, these are founders, these are CEOs. We handle everything from strategy to content creation, distribution, optimization. We have our own intellectual properties, our own artificial intelligence, our own dashboards where we can see everything that's working in the space. All you have to do is click the link in the description to book a call with me. We'll break down your current strategy and I'll show you exactly how to implement these economic principles into your own personal brand. And if you want to just implement this yourself, then subscribe to the video or join my newsletter. I post information like this every single week. Drop a comment with any questions. I actually respond to as many of them as possible. Remember, your personal brand is either an expensive hobby or an economic engine. The difference comes down to understanding and implementing these principles. I'm going to see you guys in the next video.